A couple of summers ago, I took a job as a camp counselor. I was 24, and I thought it would be the perfect break from city life. I wanted to be outdoors, working with kids. I wasn't sure how great I'd be with children, but I was excited. I set up my cabin and felt a rush of adventure. That first night, after I tucked in the campers, I checked on them. Everything was quiet. I sat on the porch, listening to the trees swaying. That's when I heard it muffled giggles. They echoed through the woods. I looked around but saw nothing. I thought it was just my imagination, but those giggles sent chills through me. I tried to shake it off, but I couldn't sleep well. As the summer went on, things got stranger. One night, while I was on duty, I glimpsed shadows rushing between the trees. I squinted into the darkness, but nothing showed itself. My heart started pounding. I asked the kids if they had seen anything odd. They just giggled and said they had an invisible friend. I chuckled along, but their eyes were wide with something that scared me. Then came the night of the melody. At first, it was a soft tune drifting over the lake. The kids froze, captivated. I felt a chill crawl up my back. I couldn't tell where the music came from, but it wasn't normal. I tried to snap them out of it, but they just stared at the water. It felt wrong. I wanted to shake them, to leave that place. But my feet felt heavy on the ground. And the following weeks, I saw the kids becoming more jumpy. They whispered to each other and looked around like they were being watched. I kept hearing soft laughter, but it was different. It wasn't innocent, it felt sinister. I began wondering if I was just overtired or if the woods were hiding something darker. My mind spun with questions, and I started counting the days until summer ended. One night, I sat by the fire pit alone. That laughter rang out again, but this time it felt much closer. I gripped my flashlight tight, my fingers shaking. I shined the beam into the dark, but nothing was there. Silence wrapped around me. I felt a pit in my stomach. Was it the wind? I didn't know. Then I turned to go back, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a figure standing among the trees. It didn't move. I couldn't see its face, but I knew it was watching me. I froze, wanting to ask if it was okay, but the words stuck in my throat. I blinked, and the figure vanished. I was left alone with my racing heart. That was the last night I ever felt safe there. Now, every summer, I think about that camp. I don't know what I really experienced, but those nights still haunt me. I wonder what secrets the woods held, or if the kids knew more than they let on. I never found out. I decided I needed to find out more. The summer after my experience, I returned to the camp. It took every ounce of courage I had. I wanted answers. The familiar surroundings stirred old memories, both exhilarating and frightening. As I pulled into the campgrounds, a shiver ran down my spine. Those woods were still alive with mystery. I started my first night by checking in with the new counselors and the kids. They were all fresh faces, eager and energetic, completely unaware of the strange happenings from the past. I mentioned briefly to the staff about the odd occurrences, but their laughter dismissed my fears. "You're just spooked from the city," one of them joked. I smiled, but I felt a knot of uneasiness in my stomach. Something hadn't changed in those woods. That night, after the campers were asleep, I decided to take a walk. The moon was bright, casting shadows that danced on the ground. I wandered toward the lake, hoping that maybe I could shake off the lingering dread from the past. The water shimmered under the moonlight, but I felt the tension in the air. Then I heard it again, the soft, enchanting melody wafting from somewhere deep in the trees. My gut twisted. I didn't want to go closer, but I felt drawn to it. Against my better judgment, I stepped off the path. The closer I got, the more the music swirled around me, pulling me in. As I moved deeper into the woods, I spotted ghostly lights flickering between the trees. They danced, weaving like fireflies but larger and more luminous. I blinked, and the lights darted away, leading me onward. I hesitated, hearing bubbling laughter behind me, a sound that sent chills through my bones. I turned, searching for the source but found nothing, just the stillness of the night. The music turned sharper, and a voice echoed through the air. It was childlike against the trees, giggling and speaking. "Come play with us." I felt a rush of fear. I remembered the kids had their imaginary friends, but this voice felt different. More real. More intense. Panic rose inside me. I pivoted to leave, wanting to run back to the campfire lights. Then I saw something in the shadows, a figure, identical to the one I'd seen the summer before. It stood still, staring, and this time, it stepped forward. My instinct screamed at me to get away. I turned and ran, branches whipping at my face as I pushed through the underbrush. When I finally burst out onto the path, my heart raced. I glanced back, half expecting to see the figure right behind me. But the darkness closed in, swallowing the woods once more. I rushed to the counselor's cabin, struggling to catch my breath. It felt too quiet. The laughter had stopped. I knew I wasn't safe, not yet. The music, the figures, those things were still waiting. I couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was happening here, something I hadn't yet uncovered. As I lay awake that night, I wondered if those kids were safe. And if the woods were still just playing games or hiding something far more sinister. Then I heard it again, a soft giggle, so close that it chilled me to the bone. I wasn't alone. The next morning arrived too soon. I still felt the weight of the giggle in my ears. I forced myself out of the cabin, needing to act like everything was normal. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the camp was different, that I was different, that I joined the other counselors for breakfast, my mind racing. As I sat with a plate of untouched food, I overheard two counselors chatting about strange events happening in the woods. "Last night, I heard someone crying," one said, shrugging it off. "Probably just a raccoon or something." The other laughed, but I didn't join in. My stomach lurched. It was too close to what I'd heard. After breakfast, I decided to investigate. I told myself I was just looking out for the kids. The counselors dismissed my concerns, but I couldn't ignore my instincts. There was something off, and I needed to know what it was. I retraced my steps from the night before, heading toward the lake. The air was thick, and the songs from the woods were quieter, almost whispering. My heart raced at each rustle of leaves. As I neared the edge of the water, I spotted something glinting in the sunlight. Curiosity got the better of me. I waded into the shallow water, reaching for it. It was a small music box, covered in dirt but still intact. I wiped off the mud, revealing intricate carvings of trees and animals. But the lid wouldn't budge. A sense of urgency raced through me. This box could be important. As I examined it closely, I heard laughter, familiar, almost taunting. I spun around, but I was alone. Panic bubbled inside me, and I clutched the box tightly. "Just the wind," I whispered to myself. But I didn't believe it. I could feel the eyes in the trees, watching. Then I noticed movement at the edge of the woods. My throat went dry. A fleeting glimpse of a small figure darting between the trees. My breath hitched as I stepped back, heart pounding. The figure was too small to be a grown-up, and too quick. I felt as if I were losing my grip on reality. "Is anyone there?" I called, my voice shaky. Silence answered me, a silence so heavy and loaded that I glanced back to the counselor's cabin, now far away. I started to feel trapped, but then the figure reappeared, hesitating at the edge of the trees. "Come play with us," the child's voice chimed again. It was laced with a sing-song quality, much like the music. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I gritted my teeth. "No!" I shouted, desperate for it to stop. "Leave me alone." The figure giggled, the sound growing higher, almost mocking. In that moment, I realized what I was holding: the music box. It wasn't just a relic of the past, it was a key to something. I had to open it, but what if I shouldn't? Before I could think further, the laughter changed. It turned from playful to something darker, more sinister. Then everything went silent. I held my breath, caught in a web of suspense. A chill skated down my spine as I spun around to run, determined to escape before something else could happen. Just as I turned, a voice whispered from behind me, "Don't you want to play?" I didn't look back. I sprinted into the woods, forgetting the box, leaving the laughter echoing behind me. As I broke free from the trees, I knew I had to find help. This summer night was just beginning, and whatever was lurking in the shadows was far from done with me. I burst through the trees, my lungs burning as I reached the open space near the cabin. My heart pounded in my chest, pounding out a rhythm of dread I couldn't ignore. The laughter still echoed in my ears, a cruel reminder that whatever I had encountered wasn't done with me yet. That I spotted a group of counselors gathered near a table, chatting and laughing as if nothing was wrong. "Guys!" I shouted, my voice hoarse. They turned to me, concern etched on their faces. "Something is happening in the woods. I need help." "What do you mean?" asked Sarah, her brow furrowed. She set down her coffee cup, her playful demeanor fading. I heard a voice. "There's a child, or something," I stammered. "And I found this music box, but I think it's connected." They exchanged glances, and a laughter erupted again, this time softer, but still piercing. I felt my stomach twist. "This isn't a joke," I shouted. "You all heard the stories. This place is supposed to be spooky tales to scare the kids," Ryan interrupted with a laugh. "Don't let it get to you. It's just camp atmosphere." I didn't believe that. I could still hear the echo of that sinister laughter, and it didn't feel like camp fun. Just as I was about to say more, a rustle in the woods caught my attention. My gaze snapped toward the trees again. "Did you hear that?" I asked, my spine prickling. Everyone fell silent, eyes narrowing toward the shadows. A figure stepped out from behind a tree. My breath caught in my throat. It was the small figure again, just as quick and elusive, but it didn't giggle this time. Instead, it just stared at me, those bright eyes glinting in the fading light. "Come play with us," the voice sang out again, but this time, it was clearer, more commanding. The others tensed, but I could see the intrigue in their faces, a mix of morbid curiosity and fear. "Stay here," I yelled, startling them. I took a cautious step forward, trying to get a better look, trying to figure out if it really was a child. The figure backed away into the darkness, taunting me. I could hear footsteps scatter in the brush, muffled and quick. Just like before. "Please, come back." I found myself yelling, an impulse I couldn't control. I felt desperate, like a piece of me was still in those woods. Almost instinctively, I began to walk forward, and then I stopped. I realized I was moving away from my friends, leaving safety behind. I turned back to the cabin, but all of their faces were turned towards the woods, watching as if spellbound. "That's it," Sarah asserted suddenly. "We need to follow it. This is too good to ignore." "No. We need to wait for the kids, for backup," I insisted, panic rising in my throat. "We shouldn't go alone." But they were already moving deeper into the woods, drawn by the same curiosity that had nearly consumed me. I hesitated, torn between fear and an inexplicable urge to know what was happening. Just as I was about to call them back, the atmosphere shifted. A chill settled over the woods, and the distant sound of laughter crept back, now haunting, almost sinister. Suddenly, the giggle exploded around us, echoing from every side. It felt as if the entire forest was filled with whispers. "Play with us," came multiple voices, that S when I saw it, a flicker of light darting in between the trees. A strange glow flickered, as if inviting us deeper into the darkness. "Guys, we should go back," I shouted, but my warning barely surfed the air above the laughter. I could feel it pulling at me, pulling at all of us. But it was too late. They were already stepping into that haunting brightness, and as I followed, I couldn't shake the thought that something was waiting for us, something I wasn't prepared for. I stepped into the shadows, the laughter swirling around me, wondering just how far this game would go. The glow danced ahead of us, flickering like a will-o'-the-wisp. It seemed to beckon, pulling us deeper into the darkness. I could feel the excitement in my friends, a thrill that mixed with my dread. Each step felt heavier, as if the earth itself was trying to pull me back. "Guys, do you really think this is safe?" I asked, my voice barely audible over the laughter. I was met with uncertain glances, but no one stopped. Instead, their expressions were a mix of thrill and fear, but ultimately encouraged by that uneasy curiosity that we trudged deeper. The trees loomed closer, their branches reaching out like hands. The laughter crescendoed, echoing in a bizarre harmony. It felt as if it was wrapping around us, cocooning us in a strange, almost comforting embrace. My stomach twisted at the thought that it was anything but comforting. "I think we should turn back," I insisted again, but Sarah nudged me with her elbow. "Just a little further. We need to see what it is." And I did want to see. My own curiosity burned beneath my fear, like a flame flickering desperately against the wind. What was that voice? It felt familiar somehow, but I couldn't place it. I followed them, clinging to the hope that if we just discovered what was behind the laughter, we could dispel it. Then we broke into a small clearing. The moonlight filled the space, revealing a scene that froze me in my tracks. Scattered around were old dolls battered and dirty, their glassy eyes staring blankly ahead. Each of them had a distinct look, as though they had once belonged to different children. Some were cracked, some were missing limbs, and one even had a tattered dress that flapped in the wind, making it seem like the doll was alive. My heart raced. "What is this?" I breathed. The laughter faded momentarily, replaced by a stillness that felt all-consuming. The other counselors circled around, exploring the eerie wooden forms with morbid fascination. "Crazy," Ryan said, picking one up. "These must be old camp relics." "Or something worse," I muttered, taking a small step back. An unsettling thought crept in. Why were they all here? And who had left them? Handling one of the dolls, Sarah's face suddenly fell. "Wait, look! It's the same as the one from the music box." She raised the doll to show us, and my breath caught. The identical dress, the same sad smile. It was too much of a coincidence. Maybe I started, but the laughter erupted again, louder this time. The sound engulfed me, making my skin crawl. It felt as if 100 voices masked in mirth were surrounding us, and the chill of fear crept up my spine. Before I could say another word, a gust of wind whipped through the clearing, rattling the branches overhead. The laughter now morphed into something more sinister, and I could swear I heard a voice cutting through the cacophony. "Play with us." I felt it, then a sudden shift in the air, as if something unseen had taken notice of us. My instincts screamed at me to run, but I was rooted in place, unable to tear my gaze away from the movement behind the trees. Shadows flickered like flames, darting in and out of the darkness, keeping just out of sight. "Guys, we need to go," I shouted, but all I got was a sound of whispers brushing past me like many tiny fingers. Then everything went dark. The laughter cut out, leaving only a deafening silence that crushed down on me. I could no longer see my friends. "Hello?" I called. No answer. My heart raced. Panic surged. I stumbled backward, hands grasping for anything familiar. What were we playing at? I had a feeling we had stumbled onto something that wasn't a game at all. That's when I felt a cold breath against my neck. I froze. My mind raced. I swung around, and the breath had already faded, leaving the coldness lingering like a reminder that we were not alone. Anyone? I whispered, trying to steady my voice. Silence surrounded me, thick and heavy. It felt unnatural. Just then, I heard a rustling sound. I instinctively turned toward it, squinting into the darkness. I couldn't see anything but shadows, but there was a sense of movement, something slipping between the trees. Guys! I tried again, louder this time, but my voice was swallowed by the woods. Suddenly, a soft giggle echoed through the clearing. It was the same sound from before, but this time it was much closer. My pulse quickened. I stepped forward, driven by a mix of fear and a strange pull of curiosity. "What is going on?" I asked, half expecting someone to jump out and laugh at my fear. But nothing happened. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I spotted one of the dolls again. It was lying on the ground, face down, as if it had been purposely placed there. There was no way it could have moved itself. I bent down to pick it up, and as I did, I felt a sudden tremor beneath my feet, like the ground was shifting. Shivers raced down my spine. I set the doll back on the ground and stepped away. "We need to leave. Now." The urgency in my voice was raw, but I couldn't move. Something about this place had me locked in place. Just then, a flash of light flickered between the trees, brighter than the moon. I turned toward it, my heart pounding. I had to know. I had to find out what was happening. I stumbled forward into the darkness, trying to brush aside the fear trying to wrap around me like a vine. As I got closer, I felt a presence behind me again. I whipped around, but I was alone. At least, I thought I was. That's when I saw a figure, small and hunched, peeking out from behind a tree. It was a child, or maybe a doll, very pale, with dark eyes that seemed far too deep. "Come play with us," it whispered, voice echoing just like the laughter. I couldn't process it. All I could do was back away slowly, my eyes locked on it. "Get away from me!" I yelled, but the words felt empty and weak. My throat closed up, and panic began to swirl. Just then, the laughter erupted again, swirling around me, drowning out everything else. I turned and ran, adrenaline propelling me. Trees whipped past as branches clawed at my clothes and skin. A part of me wanted to keep going, to escape the madness, while another part urged me to find my friends, to make sure they were okay. As I burst into the clearing again, I saw them: Ryan, Sarah, and a few others. They stood in a half-circle, staring at something. "What's happening?" I shouted, my voice shaky. They turned to look at me, eyes wide with terror. "They're here!" Sarah cried, pointing. They won't stop laughing. And then I saw it. Shadows began to swirl around us, faces forming in the darkness. They erupted in manic laughter, closing in. I felt their cold, clawing fingers reach out, grasping for us. "Run!" I screamed, and we all turned to escape into the thick woods again, unsure of what was chasing us, or if we could ever leave this place. But as I glanced back, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was following, something that wasn't just in the dark, but woke with it. We didn't stop running. The shadows chased us, their laughter echoing like a twisted chorus in the night. My heart hammered in my chest, and I could barely keep pace. "Keep going!" I yelled, glancing back to see the silhouettes flickering just out of reach. Ryan stumbled beside me. "Where are we going?" he gasped, his breath coming in quick bursts. "I don't know," I admitted, fear crashing over me. Just away from here." We burst through a thicket, the forest thickening around us. I could almost hear the branches whispering secrets, taunting us with every step. It felt like I was running in place, like the woods were closing in. Ryan finally slowed, gripping a tree for support. "Are we safe?" he wheezed. I scanned the area. The laughter was quieter but still there, swirling like a fog in the night air. "For now, but we can't stop. We need to find the others." As if on cue, I heard the rustling again. This time it was louder, closer. My skin prickled, and I wanted to scream. "What is that?" Before Ryan could answer, a figure darted from the underbrush. I flinched, ready to run again, but it was only Sarah. Her face was pale, and her eyes were wide with fear. "I thought I lost you guys." "Did you see the?" I started, but her frantic expression interrupted me. "I saw them. We have to hide," she exclaimed, glancing over her shoulder as if expecting something to leap from the shadows. "Where?" I asked. "There's nowhere safe here." "There. That way." She pointed toward a remote cluster of rocks, partially hidden by vines. "We can squeeze in. Come on." We hurried, fear pushing us forward. As we wedged ourselves into the tight space among the rocks, Sarah's breath came in uneven gasps. I kept hearing them. "They're everywhere." I crept to the edge, peeking out. The clearing was still, but for how long? "What do they want?" I whispered. "I don't know," she replied, shaking her head. "But they know we're here." Suddenly, a wind twisted around us, carrying soft whispers. Words in the languages I didn't recognize mixed with laughter and shrieks. "It's getting closer," Ryan murmured, his eyes darting around. "Stay quiet," I hissed. Moments passed, or maybe hours. It was hard to tell in that dark void. Just then, a distorted face appeared in the shadows. It was a doll's visage, cracked and painted with an unsettling grin, laughing silently as it hovered inches from where we crouched. I couldn't look away, entranced and terrified. "Is it alive?" Ryan breathed incredulously, his eyes wide. Before I could respond, the breeze grew stronger, and the laughter erupted again, almost deafening. The doll's face twisted, and I could barely see other figures forming behind it, their bodies flickering like flames. Then everything went dark. The world around us dissolved into an inky void. I felt a grip tighten around my wrist, pulling me deeper into the shadows. "What's happening?" I yelled, panic rising. Then, just as quickly, the darkness released me, and I found myself on the forest floor, completely alone. The whispers erupted in chaotic laughter, but the laughter now felt personal, directed right at me. That's when I heard it, a single voice ringing clear, cutting through the madness. "Come play with us." And then I knew, they weren't just shadows. They were something far worse. I scrambled to my feet, my breath catching in my throat. The laughter faded, but that voice lingered, wrapping around my mind like ivy. "Come play with us." I looked around. The trees loomed menacingly, their silhouettes twisted under the pale moonlight. I felt the earth beneath my feet, solid and cold. What had just happened? Where was Sarah? Where was Ryan? "Guys?" I shouted, my voice trembling. No response. Just silence, thick and heavy. The weight of it pressed against my ears. I forced myself to move, heart racing with each cautious step. I needed to find them. I needed to get out of this nightmare. I turned and picked a direction at random, pushing my way through the low branches that beckoned like fingers. After a few minutes, I heard whispering again, only this time, it felt closer. I froze, listening intently. No laughter, just hushed voices chattering in twisted tones. I strained my eyes, trying to see anything through the darkness. The shadows stretched around me, and with every rustle in the underbrush, I felt a surge of panic. "Hello?" I called out again, but my voice quivered, barely visible amidst the encroaching gloom. Then I saw it, faint, glowing lights dancing among the trees. I squinted, daring to venture closer. The lights flickered, like fireflies caught in a frantic game. It felt wrong, chaotic. Yet something compelled me to follow them. As I crept toward the lights, I heard a giggle echo softly, weaving through the branches. I hesitated, dread pooling in my stomach. They might be leading me into a trap, but curiosity pushed me forward. I stepped into a small clearing, and there they were, a group of tiny figures, their bodies shimmering with a strange light. They were no taller than my knees, wearing ragged clothes that shimmered as if woven from the forest itself. "What are you?" I whispered, incredulous. The figures turned, their eyes like dark voids. "Play with us," they chimed in unison, their voices high and melodic but underscored by something sinister. Panic surged through my veins. I wanted to turn and run, but I was frozen in place, rooted by their gaze. Then one stepped forward, reaching out a tiny hand. "It's fun," it promised, its voice sweet as sugar. "No!" I shouted, breaking free from my stupor. I spun around, tearing away from the clearing. The whispers grew louder behind me, an angry chorus urging me to come back. I ran, my feet pounding against the uneven ground. I didn't care where I was going, I just needed to get away. The laughter chased me, louder this time, filling my ears with its dreadful melody. After what felt like an eternity, I stumbled through the trees and back into the thicket where I had last seen my friends. I stopped, gasping for air, my heart hammering. I could barely process what had just happened. Then I heard a familiar voice. "There you are." It was Ryan, emerging from the shadows, his face worried but relieved. "We thought we lost you." But before I could respond, Sarah burst through the thicket behind him, error etched across her face. "We have to go. They're coming." I glanced over my shoulder, dread pooling in my gut. The laughter was back, echoing through the trees, growing closer with every heartbeat. A flicker of movement caught my eye. That's when I saw it, one of the tiny figures, standing at the edge of the clearing, watching us with those void-like eyes. I didn't know what else to do. We had to move. But where? We bolted into the thick underbrush, staying close together. The laughter was a haunting echo, swirling around us like a dark fog. "Which way?" Ryan shouted over his shoulder, his voice strained. I didn't know. We could go deeper into the trees or back the way we came. Both options felt dangerous. "Just run," I yelled, adrenaline pushing me forward. As we sped through the thicket, I kept glancing back. I half expected to see one of those shadowy figures leap from behind the trees, but the path behind us remained empty. The laughter faded a bit, but my heart still raced in terror. "Do you think they followed us?" Sarah gasped, struggling to keep pace. I could see the fear etched across her face, mirroring my own. "I don't know," I said, trying to catch my breath. "But we can't stop." Suddenly, we stumbled into a clearing. The moonlight bathed the area in a cold glow. I took a moment to scan our surroundings. In the center of the clearing stood an old, dilapidated well, stones crumbling and covered with moss. It looked abandoned, but something felt off about it. "Guys, what's that?" Ryan pointed. I followed his gaze. Something was shifting in the shadows next to the well. Before I could respond, two more of those tiny figures emerged, their lights flickering wildly. My blood ran cold. "What do they want?" I could barely whisper. "Play with us," one of them sang, stepping closer, its tiny hand extending again. I felt the hairs raise on the back of my neck. Ryan stepped in front of us, his face set. "No. We don't want to play," he shouted defiantly. The tiny figures paused, their void-like eyes narrowing. Then, in unison, they giggled, and the sound reverberated through the clearing like a chilling wind. "Don't you want to stay forever?" one of them asked, tilting its head. A wave of dread washed over me. The air grew tense, thickening around us like a shroud. "Forever?" Sarah echoed. "What does that mean?" Another figure darted out from behind the well, its body shimmering ominously. "This is our playground. You're just lost," it said, and suddenly everything felt heavier, as if the shadows around us were swallowing the light. I took a step back, panic gripping me. "We need to go," I hissed, grabbing both of their wrists. "Now!" Ryan nodded frantically and pulled Sarah with us. We raced back through the trees, our breaths loud in the stillness. The laughter resumed, now mocking, echoing off the bark of the old trees. Then, everything went dark. I pressed on, but the path underfoot vanished. We stumbled, confusion and fear engulfing us. I could hear the laughter grow closer, dark and twisted. Where did the path go? Ryan's voice dropped to a near whimper, panic rising in his tone. It has to be here. I shouted, fear bubbling into frustration. Then, I felt something brush against my leg. I stopped, expecting to see one of the tiny figures, but there was nothing. Just the depth of the night surrounding us. Guys? My voice trembled. Did you feel that? Before they could respond, a new sound filled the air, a low, rumbling growl. It wasn't human. It didn't even sound like an animal. With one last shove of panic, I turned on my heel and ran, dragging my friends along with me. Behind us, the laughter mixed with that growl, forming a symphony of fear that threatened to swallow us whole. I had no plan, no idea where we were going. All I knew was we had to escape. But as the ground shifted beneath our feet, it was clear we were far from safe. Somehow, we made it back to the clearing, though the laughter had only seemed to grow in intensity. Shadows danced around us, but they were no longer shapes flitting between trees. They felt more like an embodiment of every fear and echo of everything we dared to confront. My breaths were shallow, forming misty clouds in the cold air. Ryan grabbed my arm, squeezing tightly. What now? He managed between gasps. Over there. I pointed toward an old hiking trail visible just past the well. It seemed faint, cloaked in darkness, but it was our only option. The laughter faded and then swelled again, as if agitated by our every move. With no time to waste, we sprinted toward the trail, desperate to put distance between us and the shadows lingering in the night. The path was narrow, flanked by dense trees, their gnarled branches reaching out like hands trying to pull us back. Keep going. I shouted, pushing through the undergrowth. The chilling giggles still rang out, echoing in a mocking crescendo, as if testing our resolve. Are we even going the right way? Sarah yelled, her voice taut with fear. I don't know. I shouted back. Just trust me. The trail curved, leading us further from the clearing and deeper into the night. With each step, I could feel something shift in the air, a weight pressing down as if the woods had come alive, binding us within an unseen grip. Do you hear that? Ryan asked suddenly, stopping short that I strained to listen. At first, nothing but the rustle of leaves. But then came a faint murmuring, words I couldn't quite grasp, weaving through the underbrush. There. I focused on a flicker of light up ahead, almost lost in the underbrush. Is it them? Sarah asked, her voice trembling. Maybe no, just keep moving. I urged, pulling them along. As we approached the light, it flickered once more before illuminating a stone figure in the ground, a clear marker for a forgotten path. This way. I pointed again, feeling a frantic urgency urging us forward. We hurried onward, my heart pounding against my ribs. Then I heard it again, the sound of distant laughter, mixing with the murmurs like a warped lullaby. Not far now. I shouted, trying to reassure us all. As we pressed on, the trees began to thin, and a fresh breeze brushed against my cheek. We stumbled into an open space, the woods opening up to a small, tranquil meadow bathed in moonlight. It was eerily quiet. For a moment, I thought we might have escaped. I took a breath, but then I recalled the shadows, lingering just beyond the flip of the trees. They still hung around the edge, waiting. We need to rest, Ryan said, trying to catch his breath. Yeah, but we can't let our guard down, I insisted. My mind raced. It had to end here. But how? That's when I noticed something glimmering on the far side of the meadow, a small, ornate music box, much like the one I'd held days before. What the eye breathed, accidentally taking a step forward. It sat open, its delicate lid shaking ever so slightly in the breeze, as if beckoning us closer. The laughter returned in a crescendo, strange and childish, from a place unknown. It filled the air, curling in spirals around us, and I realized with a sinking dread that the music box was drawing those shadows into the meadow, like a moth to a flame. "Don't!" I shouted, but it was too late. They surged forward, creeping toward the light from the music box, their forms shifting and writhing, almost resembling children, lost but hungry for connection. With a jolt, I snapped back to my friends. "Run!" I yelled, terror taking hold. We turned back toward the trees, but I felt the ground shake beneath us. The shadows behind us were seeping into the meadow, stretching. They weren't just apparitions, there was something more sinister darkening the edges of my vision. As we fled, the shadows reached out with elongated fingers, recasting our childhood fears in vivid color. Just as we reached the tree line, I dared to look back one last time. The music box sparkled in the moonlight, surrounded by a haunting glow as shadows twisted and turned in a frenetic display of laughter and light that I don't remember much after that, only the sound of branches snapping as we pushed through the thicket. The last thing I heard was the voice once more, sweetly singing, "Come play with us." It lingered in the air even as I sprinted deeper into the woods, urging my heart onward, leaving our past shrouded in shadow. Eventually, we crashed through the last line of trees and tumbled onto the edge of the campground, breathless and trembling. As we turned back, the dark woods fell silent, each shadow retreating until only emptiness remained. We stood there, the warmth of safety surrounding us. Yet, I couldn't shake the feeling of unseen eyes, the tangled roots digging beneath the earth, whispering secrets I could never uncover. I still think about that night sometimes, awash in the memories of those ancient woods. Something changed when we left. Though we escaped, I could never be sure what we truly faced. Was it just the darkness we feared, or was there something more tangible lurking within? The woods still stand, and the echoes of laughter continue to ring in my mind as reminders that some games are better left unplayed.